Hey everybody. This week we are getting into a little bit of value scales. As you're painting, kind of noticing those darks and those lights. Some of the exercises I've included for you are one from last summer's watercolor class, but so I apologize for the small weird format. But anyway, I think they're still useful and I wanted you to be able to see those and work from those. Painting a grayscale and understanding how all things break down into values is really important. I show him, I think one of the videos, how to take a picture, you turn it to black and white so that you can then, take pictures of the work or your work in progress. That's one way to just kind of see your values, your darks, your lights, and your midtones, to see how they're working together, if things are reading correctly. Sometimes color doesn't matter nearly as much as value does. They always say that color gets all the credit and value does all the work. And it's pretty true. But at the same time, color is what excites us a lot in watercolor. So we don't want to lose sight of that either. And the looseness and the fun that you can have with it. So I wouldn't depending, if you're wanting to go more realistic, super realism kind of thing, it's that the direction that's attracting you, then these are things that are important to learn. If you are just kind of wanting to play with bright color, more abstract, more just loose watercolor, don't get too hung up on this. It's important, but it's not everything. Kind of just depending on the direction that you're going and what you love. So that's why I'm always saying go look at other art. Always look at other art. What are you attracted to? And what is it about that is making your heart go pitter patter, And that's what is to follow. So it's hard when you're doing, this beginning course where everybody is coming in at different levels and everybody has different goals. Keep your own goal front and center. So I will be teaching stuff and showing you stuff, but if it's not what it is about for you, I don't want you stressing about it. I want to say here too, just to clarify for everybody in the class, I know I've said, here's how you submit things and this is important. And it is to some degree, but I don't want any of you just not coming because you didn't do your work or something. If you are behind, I don't want you to feel behind and feel like you've done something wrong. Okay, it's summer. This is a fun class. It's for you. Get what you can out of it. The more you put in, the more you'll get out. But if life gets in the way, and I totally understand that more than anybody. It's like, my life is ridiculous. So I get it. Don't let that keep you from coming to class. Don't let that keep you from moving ahead. Don't feel like you have to go back and take all those other classes and watch every single video. If you can't, you can't. Just move from where we are. If you have questions, come into the raise your hand or send me an email. I'm happy to help. Okay. Mostly the most important thing is just have fun. This is about having fun. We are painters here. We like to play with paint. Play. If all else fails, just play with your paint and play with some color and the rest will come. Okay. All right. So for this week, as I said, we are going to be focusing a little bit on those values and understanding what you see, but also on just getting into some compositional ideas. I'll address it even more in the Zoom, but for right now, I want to share my screen and I'm going to probably give you guys this same article I want to show you, but this was grabbing my attention an awful lot. I was going through this and I'm going to include it for you, but it's about composition. And it's kind of interesting to see a lot of times people get hung up on wanting to paint everything they see. And what I've been telling you, because some of you guys are in my sketching class too, but what I do is I look and what is it that really grabbed your eye? And maybe you have time to sit there and paint it as you see it. And that is best. Painting from life is your best tool to learn. But if you can't, just practice looking. So maybe you are out and about and going for a walk and you see something and something in here catches your eye. For me, it is that clothesline or those bright colors right there. It just grabs me. There's something about that that's beautiful. Maybe it's the way the light's coming through the trees with the blossoms. There's all different things that get our eye and get our attention. Maybe it's the way the light is hitting your grandchild's face while you're sitting there in the room with them and it's coming through the window. There's so many different things. That's when you just look and try to understand and try to notice these things. And part of that process of looking and noticing and thinking in your head, how would I draw that? How would I paint that? What colors would I choose in watercolor? I've told a lot of my painters before, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I drive up and down Highway 5 quite a bit to go to Northern California to see my mom. And as I'm driving this 9-hour drive, I occupy my brain by mixing paint colors. And so that's sort of what I do. And the process of doing that, as I'm looking at the hills or the, the fields as I'm driving, how do I mix that color? I'm seeing lots of different colors in the rise of the hill or the way the clouds are casting a shadow. It's really interesting sometimes just to see that. I was like always surprised that shadows make clouds. I mean, clouds make shadows, sorry. Anyway, so as I'm doing that and I'm mixing these colors, when I finally do get to go paint, I might not ever paint that what I saw, but I am so practiced at mixing colors in my head that I can pretty much mix any color. And it's the same as like when you're noticing. What I want you to be noticing this week as you go out and about, bring a sketchbook with you, or bring your paints if you can go, and bring your watercolors, or even just like a little travel set, and paint when you can, or just do quick little studies. But what is it that caught your eye? And just gather that information. That's going to be your focal point. So if you were painting this and you went by this is what this guy does in this article and talks about it. I think it's this guy. You're like, who is it? Yeah, it's a guy. Anyway, here's what caught his eye. That clothesline. I love clotheslines. Anyway, that clothesline of color and the little awning, that's just beautiful. And his loose approach to it, that was his focus. Everything around it is just like little sketchiness. You don't have to have any kind of detail, but that was his area of focus. That's his focal point for the painting. So if you're doing a full out painting, that's a beautiful way to approach it. If you're just doing something in your sketchbook and you're just grabbing that and having it trail off, that's a nice thing to do. So you don't have to take in the entire scene, and it can get overwhelming. So like, this is similar to the view. I go to my mom's and there's all these fields, and it's like, I just want to paint it all, but it doesn't look good when I paint it all. It's all over. Where's that focal point? I have to really look for my focal point in something like this. And what he goes on, I'm just going to tell you this article because sometimes you guys don't want to open them up, but this will be here for you in the unit this week. He does a little thumbnail sketch. That is one way to do it. I know we're doing watercolor, but a thumbnail sketch is going to maybe inform what you're going to put in. Where is that area of interest? So when we're talking about composition, he's got these darks back here of the trees. Let's go back up to the photo reference. So he's noticing that ridge of the trees. He's not putting everything in. He's also noticing that cluster there. So you've got these repetitive darks. Here's your darkest dark, I think, right there, in that patch. And then a little bit of interest here, and the trees in the more of the foreground here are another dark. So it's creating this really beautiful flow of composition that's leading you in with the darks and the lights of that field there. So see how you're led in. This is a composition like almost an S, but not quite. But anyway, it's one of those, it's more of a repetitive thirds. And it's kind of an interesting thing. The 3 here and then 3 areas, all of it works together to make a really sound composition. So if you are planning out a painting, that is a way to plan it out. Do a little tiny thumbnail. It doesn't have to be big, like 2 inches. And then you can start putting down your paint. So the way he did was like capturing that ridge. That was what was interesting. Getting some color in, just some background, but keeping and maintaining, that's his area of interest. That's where he's pulling you back to that. So he's always going to keep coming back and emphasizing. He's adding more color here, right? But bringing you back to that and keeping that dark against the light. So even as he fills in more and more, he's maintaining these lights and the dark and that relationship. So there's your area of interest still. You've got the ridge, you've got the lights, you've got the dark. The rest is here. You still got those areas of dark too, but not as much as back here. That's where he wants you to go. That's his focal point. See, it's more in focus. This is more blurred out and not as important. I think that was the finished one. Yeah, that's the finished painting. So isn't that amazing? I mean, that's just like so neat to do and to see. And that's what I want you to just practice looking in that same manner. If you're looking out at a field or the hills or the beach or whatever it is, what's catching your eye? Where's your darkest dark and your lightest light? What do you want to draw? You're the artist. You get to say, hey, I'm going to leave out those palm trees over there and I'm just going to put this part, whatever it is, that's the part that I want my viewer to see. That's what I'm going to focus on. And so I know with sketching, I'll start with that focal point. I'll just draw that and have the rest like kind of fade out from there. With watercolor, you can kind of do the same thing. If you're sketching with watercolor, if you're planning a painting, you just want to keep that mindset. So doing a little thumbnail sketch will help you. It's like having a roadmap for yourself when you go and you sit down to actually paint that. So hopefully that helps. I really want you to practice seeing those things. Don't worry too much about painting them. You can. We will be getting more into landscapes and seascapes and everything in the coming days. This is such a short class. I'm trying to cram a lot in. So for sure this week, it's a grayscale. It's noticing those difference in values, even as you put down paint. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that in a video too, because I believe, yeah. So I'll be showing you that as well as the earlier videos that have the grayscale. And painting a grayscale, I think is valuable because it's going to help you see that way and understand values, contrast, and all of those things. So hopefully that helps. If you have questions, again, just reach out. I'm here. All right. Have a great week. Bye.